All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. A little impromptu Zoom call, really to catch up and get some more info from the guys who were on the Get Shit Done panel. My name's Dave Ward. If you don't know who I am, you shouldn't be in this group. And basically what happened with that panel, we just did not have enough time. And I'm not sure, we could have probably had those guys on stage the entire day of day two and still not had enough time. So what I really wanted to do was just grab them as they're available, and either a couple at a time or just kind of one-on-one, which is what we're doing today. It looks like Greg Plaskett might be joining us, but just to kind of catch up and, really circle back and get some more thoughts on really leading with the business is what this is about. We're going to kind of divide these up. We had a couple guys obviously on the panel who were really killing it with challenge groups, and I thought that was super interesting. David Atkins, Trey, and Patrick Reelman really kind of talking about very different things that they're doing with their challenge groups that I think are great. And then we had other guys who were really focusing on leading with the business, and Bryan was one of those guys. So I just want to kind of open it up. Bryan, why don't you just take a minute, tell us your story a little bit, and let's kind of kick it off with that.
All right, thanks, Dave. My name is Bryan Bachman. I've been Beachbody coaching 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. I spent 8 years in the Army as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne. I was an infantry guy. Made a staff sergeant, did a couple deployments there. And then something kind of started to click for me. I was really good at jumping out of airplanes and shooting bad guys. But when I went to Afghanistan, I came home and my little girl didn't remember who I was. And she was just a little girl. But it bothered me more than it should have. It's kind of like, oh, great. They actually gave us these little Army dolls, and it's like a little G.I. Joe doll. And there's a spot in the face where you put a picture of the service member in there, right? And the little kid can have a doll of their dad while they're deployed. And there's a picture of me in this doll, and I always called it Baby Daddy, right? And when I came back, she thought that Baby Daddy was Daddy, and that this monstrous dude was an enlarged version of my daddy, right? So it was kind of ridiculous. So I stayed in the Army, and I continued to jump out of the airplanes, and we did all the training stuff. And then I went to Iraq. After I came home from Iraq, I was done. When I was in Iraq, it was such an intense situation because there were people trying to kill us, but we weren't really allowed to kill them because we were drawing down, and they were telling us, like, man, if you pull that trigger, you better be ready to stand in front of a judge, right? Like, that's how certain you better be. So it was very, very strict. And my wife was pregnant with my son, and she got sick. She got cholestasis, if there's any medical people watching this. And it almost killed her. So they took her to the hospital, and they had to induce her. And they said, she's in the hospital, and she's stable in the hospital. So since she's stable in the hospital, it doesn't really qualify as an American Red Cross emergency. So yeah, you're not going home. You're staying here. And my son was born when I was 3,600 miles around the world fighting our nation's wars. And that was kind of the last straw for me, that they didn't care about my family as much as I cared about my family. And every single day I was coming home, I was exhausted. I was angry. I was angry at the situation. I was angry about everything around me except for myself. And I just I'd had enough. I'd had enough. And I got sick and tired of coming home to hear about everybody's day. Why couldn't I experience that day? My dad told me I was crazy. Said, if you leave the Army, I'll kill you. Because I was already almost halfway there, right? Said, you leave the Army and I'll kill you. And I said, Dad, I don't want to hear about everybody's day. And he said, that's just the way it is, dude. I said, why does it have to be that way? So we fell into this Beachbody coaching thing, man. We fell into this Beachbody coaching thing. And a lot of people, it might have taken them some time to get these gears going. But that was never my style. I've always been the person that when I say this is happening, this happens. And I decided that this was going to happen. And I just took off. I went diamond in about 60 days, paid off the credit card debt. And I had this huge, huge monstrous goal I needed to make $1,100 a week in 18 months, because in 18 months I got out of the Army, and I am not going to work for anybody else ever again. Because I had that goal, that end date so solidified, I was so scared. And when I decided that I was getting out of the Army and I was going to do this, I was only making like $100 a week, right? Like commission checks, like it wasn't anything special happening yet, but I had already seen the vision of what was possible here. And that's all I needed is this possible? So I started to put in a lot of effort behind this. And I said, this needs to happen or the world is going to end. And because I gave Beachbody the plan A attention, it started to grow like a plan A. And I ended up hitting that goal about 4 or 5 months later. And by the time I got out of the Army, I had more than doubled that goal. And now I get to be a full-time stay-at-home dad in Orlando, Florida. And every now and again, I shoot a glance over at my kids to remind them to shut up.
Sometimes you got to, man. Sometimes they're fucking noisy. Good, thank you. A couple of things, and I guess a couple of things that come out of just even you telling your story. And one of those is really the power of that. Bryan and I think we've met at Summit or somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. And then I remember seeing you on stage with your wife and telling your story. And that was really what planted the seed in my mind of, okay, we should probably pay attention to this kid and see what he's doing. And maybe it's flash in the pan. You don't really know. And then we started to talk, and Bryan started to tell me how the event last year was a big catalyst for him. And that's always good to hear. That's one of the things I'm really looking for coming out of this is your success stories, and success stories are not, I'm gonna, they're, I did. And really that was one of the big things that kind of, I guess, got me paying attention to Bryan or watching Bryan. One of the things I've really noticed is that you have learned how to really harness the power of your story and be able to tell it in a way that, you can tell a story that normally would be a very sad story. There's a lot of them that you have, and they end up coming across as very emotional, but I don't like when I hear stories, about you and your service career, I don't feel sorry for you. I feel like I understand you. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about that transition for you and how, I guess, just being more open and more vulnerable, how that's moved your business forward.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because it doubles back to the men's training camp the first year. And that was taking my game to the next level. Let's start at the beginning. At the beginning, I decided I was going to be a Beachbody coach. And I've always been the person that when I jump in and do something, I'm going to do it. What do I do? Like, I didn't understand how to do this job at all. I just knew that it was possible to do this job and that people are acting. That was from Tommy Migrant. I met Tommy Migrant. He's the first successful coach I knew he was. And the dude just speaks truth right into your soul. And I said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm about to figure this shit out. Right. And I just started going for it. So I started to find people who I knew were doing this. And when you go to YouTube in 2013 and you search Beachbody coaching top tips, 2 people really popped up at that time. And JK, stop doing that, please. 2 people really popped up at that time. And that was Scotty Hobbs and Lindsay Matway. And I've seen every one of these people's videos, man. And I watched every single one of those videos and I said, got it, check, roger that. That's what a Beachbody coach is. Oh, you see where this is going now. And all of a sudden my Facebook page changed into something very interesting, and I met a lot of backlash. I was the guy who posted on Facebook once every 3 months, right? Like most dudes, right? I posted every 3 months, and I posted 1 of 3 things, right? I posted something political, right? About the Cleveland Browns always losing, and then like a video of terrorists getting killed. Like that was it. So here I am, like, got my shake today, right? The most ridiculous post ever. And people started coming at me with all sorts of hate, right? And hate because I was all of a sudden being what I thought a Beachbody coach was supposed to be, right? We had this preconceived notion. Now, remember what I said, I do it. And I do this when I do this. And I did it. The problem is that like attracts like, and that's not always a good thing when you're not being true to who you are. So I invented this person that looked like me and sounded like me, but they weren't me. And I was recruiting the crap out of people who were attracted to somebody who didn't exist. So when they came on board, I wasn't duplicating anything. I didn't have a working coach for 9 months, and I recruited over 10 coaches a month from day one. Not one working coach. But I was making quite a bit of money because nobody could recruit like me, right? Like, where would I be now if I had done it the right way, right? So I have hopes and dreams of making $100,000 a year with this business. I see it like it's possible. At the time, I'm making about $200 a week, but I can do this. I see it. And I get wind of this men's event happening in Dallas. And I said, I got to be there. I didn't know who Dave Ward was. Jimmy was the guy with good squats. That's all I knew about him, right? And I was like, I got to be there. Got to go. All right. The Army told me no, I couldn't go. I bought the ticket, bought my flight, got my hotel, everything. I said, I'm going. I'll just sneak away for the weekend, right? I can say that now because I'm free, right? And they were just like, you're not going. And then they're like, hey, don't you have that training camp thing this weekend? And I was like, oh, I thought that got denied. They're like, right, we're saying you can go now. I said, oh, that's okay. I gotta go right now. I gotta go buy my ticket and stuff. I actually left work early that day for no reason. So that worked out really well. I got to go anyways. I'm sitting in the third row, center stage, sitting right next to Casey Walker, who won the $100,000 last year, and Anthony Sloan, who's one of my diamond coaches now, who was an Emerald coach at the time, on my right. And we're watching, and I'm watching Bob Lucido and Keith Callahan give the most dynamite team cycle bonus training I've ever seen in my life. And I start getting giddy. Like I'm almost like uncomfortable in my seat and laughing. And I'm sitting with Casey and Anthony. I'm just like, guys, we are undershooting this thing. Oh my God, this is not $100,000 a year business, guys. Like, this is $1 million business. Like, that's not even like, we're gonna make $1 million. Like, no, like that is like that, like we're going there. And I started playing this game at a different level, really at a different level. And $100,000 happened like that because I stopped aiming for $100,000 and I started aiming way higher. So that just started happening. But in order to, and Jim Rohn says it so well, that your value is going to determine exactly what you make. And if you want to make more, be more. Dave Ward said something similar at the training camp, right? You want more, be more. And so that's what I started doing. And personal development became my lifeblood. I've listened to The Slight Edge over 10 times an audiobook now. And I have the book. It's my favorite book of all time. And it's what I live my life by. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I started to grow as a person. And the person you all see now sharing these weird stories about these things that have bothered me for nearly 10 years was not the guy that I started off on. It's a progression. So don't try to be there in one day. And the first time, and I like to think of it as literally peeling off your shirt, peeling off your skin, pulling the bones back, pulling the muscle away, and exposing your heart. That's vulnerability, right? Anything could happen at that point. But that's the only way that you can truly connect with somebody. Not sign up. I have this new sale happen. I can't believe the 21-day fix is on sale this month. Everyone should get it. Nobody's going to buy that shit from you. They don't care. Why? Start with why. Why? So I know that if I can tell my story and the way I think about it, not the way I talk about it, the way I think about it in my head that nobody ever hears, and I can put that out there, and it's important to me, that's how I'm going to connect with somebody else, not what I think you want to hear. Telling your story is something that I think I've gotten good at, and that's telling my story on social media. And I like to think, and I said this on another training that I did, I like to think of Facebook as almost a window into my soul. I want you to go to my Facebook page, give me 5 scrolls, and you get me. You get me as a person, and I can be myself. And as soon as I stop trying to be this weird hybrid breed of Scotty Hobbs and Lindsay Matway, who are both great people, but I'm saying they're not me, right? And I stopped trying to be them, and I tried to be me. And I say the F word sometimes. I'm a Beachbody coach, right? Everybody who was connecting with me was crickets, but I was still getting the same level of engagement on my posts and same number of signups of people who were just sitting there in silence because they weren't connecting with the person I was being. But now I can be me. It's not stressful anymore. And I can say exactly what I think. And people are still coming to me. And these are people that I actually started connecting with. And we actually grow a business together. And now we have 9 personally sponsored diamonds and like 15 or 18 diamonds in the downline now. And it's just growing, man. It's growing. But you have to be you. And you have to learn to connect with people. And how do you connect with people? By telling your story. The first time you tell it, it's going to suck, man. You're going to hold back. You're going to beat around the bush and all that stuff, and nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care because it's bullshit. But if you practice at it and keep going at it and turn on your camera, cover up the image, and you just have that camera facing you and you talk like you were talking in the mirror and just share your heart, and it's real and it's raw, and you may cry, man. You may cry, but even if you don't cry, you can get pissed off. What you want is actual emotion, not welcome back to another edition of the Basic White Girls at Target. Like, that's cool, but that's not how you're going to connect with people. That's more of just a funnel to get people to come to me. People come for the Basic White Girls at Target and the Dub Smash and the Norman, but people stay for the stories and the opportunity. That help? That good?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just have a kind of a follow-up question. I was watching CBS Evening News last night, and they interviewed, there's a program in Chicago in where they work with kids who have been exposed to like really traumatic violence, gun violence mainly. You know, it's like shoot up in your front yard, you know, basically, and 3 people die, and you're just a 15-year-old kid who sees all this shit go down, right? You're not part of the game. You're just a witness to that. And what they did with these kids was they taught them how to tell their story. And they recorded them. Some of them they put on stage, but they recorded them and they had them write it out, you know? And the story was really about the show piece in the news was really about the healing effect of story and telling your story. And just on a personal level, do you feel like that's helped you kind of get past some of that shit?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you could talk about it, it's called prolonged exposure. Just went psychologist on you, right? And if you write about it, it's called cognitive processing therapy. And they're both extremely effective in treating people with post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's almost like taking this thing that's just eating at you and putting it in front of your face until it suddenly becomes just a memory. And if I could take it as just a memory, you may think it loses its effect, but it's not at all, because now you're more comfortable with remembering the memory. You could tell me about the most exciting time, the first time you rode your bike, and it could be so exciting if you can actually get into that 7-year-old, 6-year-old mindset that you were in. But if you had something, and I get it. I had, I've been to war, so I have amazing stories to tell. And that's not it, man. It's about, because I could say, I went to war and fucking killed people. I want to buy shit. No, right? No, it's your ability to tell your story, right? David Ingram stood on stage and said that he was a boring ass dude. Look at him. It doesn't matter. It's your story. And as long as you talk to somebody, which generally talk to you, right? That's how you're going to talk to a whole lot of people. But I saw I was like an essential oils post or some nonsense where they were like, are you a stay-at-home mom? Are you a work-from-home dad? Like, they just started talking to everybody, like they literally like,
do you have a pulse?
Are you a college student? Like, you really, right? Like, and they got no likes. That was weird. Must be done time. No, they were trying to talk to everybody. Talk to one person and you will talk to everyone.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such an articulate way of putting it. And I know, like, just for me, I haven't really told the whole story about the death of my father. It's a very sad story. It's one I tell. I'm comfortable with telling it now. I just haven't felt like there's been a spot for it yet. Maybe I'm saving it for next year. But I know that writing it out, telling the story, living it out, has really helped me get over it, and like, that's, as I look back at areas in my life where I wasn't very good, most of them were created around the belief systems that were created around my relationship with my dad, which was kind of almost non-existent. And it's really helped me to just kind of move past that shit and to grow. And so I ask you the question because I want people to hear that. I want people to understand that, nobody's ever, and I don't know if you've gotten this reaction, maybe it's a question, maybe it's a statement, but I've never like told a story like the one that I told in Dallas about, basically being a greedy asshole. And had anybody come up to me and be like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. That whole thing, that real vulnerable thing, that's just not for you. I've had people come to me because they're used to people fishing for compliments and come to me and say, oh, it's okay. You're a great guy and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, obviously I didn't do that right, because it's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to feel sorry for me. I'm not looking for you to tell me that I'm great. I'm looking to create an enemy, and the enemy in the story is me, right? Like, and that's just the way that story works. If you look at the way Bo started his presentation, the enemy in his story about the birthday party is the huddle, right? It's like the bad guys. And so what he does right away is create this, hey, these are the bad guys. You don't like them. You might not be super sure that you like me just yet, but you hate those guys. So let me now show you who I am. And that's why kind of I do those things. But I've never told stories like that and had people just tell me like, yeah, you know what, no one cares, or boy, that's just not very interesting, or any of that stuff, right? And all of you guys have stories. They may not be war stories. They may not, maybe your dad, maybe you had a great family. I know like Ryan Chapman is one of, my guys. Ryan was raised by really good people. I mean, and it's no surprise to me that Ryan's been really successful in this business because he's just a well-adjusted human being. He was raised by great people. I hope that's how my kids turn out, and kind of go around fishing for a story to tell. But has it stopped Ryan from being a multiple-time elite coach because he doesn't have a story about something being super broken in his life? No, it hasn't. He's still done that. But if you do have a story like that and you have those holdbacks, I think, getting them out there and sharing them will really help you guys. And one of the things that I know I've learned from Bo, from working with him, is, story is super powerful for what I just talked about earlier about the healing nature of it. But also story is just this connective element that helps everybody kind of move forward. And just like Ryan was saying, it's like, the more specific you are, the more people you're really talking to, because people don't care about superficial shit. They really want to see who you are as a person. And that can be tough, but it's also really super, super rewarding if you can do it. You want to add anything to the story thing? Otherwise we can just move on.
Look, it's the hardest one, the one you're thinking about, and then you instantly get your brain to stop thinking about it, which for me, look at this, guys. Like, I mean, some of you guys, and I'm talking to the recording, there may be watching this, right? A lot of the, especially the Gentlemen's Club guys, have been following me for 2 years now. And only within the last 6 or 7 months have I really even started talking to the veteran community, to the post-traumatic stress world, right? Because that was my golden ticket, man. Like, that is what I'm most passionate about because it's the most close to me. But I didn't talk about it for a long time. So I wasn't, so I started, but luckily I found another niche that I was very, very connected to, and I drove that for a long time. But it really is finding the thing that you are most to talk about. Inadequacies about being a father, right? Like something crazy like that, like something like really, really hits home for you. And then that's what you share about. And if you think that you are a bad dad, then you say the words, I honestly believe I'm a bad father. Not to seek sympathy, like Dave said, no, because it's the most true to what you got going on, and that's how you're going to reach and connect people. And it's not reaching and connecting people, so you can sign them up with a challenge pack. Because if you felt 5 years ago that you were a bad dad, but since then you squashed that, and now you're kids and you have a great healthy relationship, somebody out there right now honestly believes that they're a bad father, and you have the ability to help them overcome that exact crap that you dealt with. And for me, that's pretty freaking rad, man. Like that I could help somebody get over something that I was able to overcome simply by getting them to sign up with a 21-day fixed challenge pack because it's on sale, and that's all I'm going to sell this month.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so true. It's just that the connective power of story, and it's for you, it's for other people. It's just what works, guys. I mean, it just like the more I study this thing, the more that I see it, it's just completely what works. Let's transition a little bit. So I see Dennis Fowler has joined us. Mr. Fowler, how are you today? Let me unmute you. Hold on. Oh, now your thing is frozen. Are you there, buddy? Well, as soon as
I'm here.
Look at him. He's like a big lumberjack. Hey, there you are. Dennis, you got us?
Hey, you may have to kill the yeah, I can hear you. You have to kill your Wi-Fi or get on your hotspot.
I'll just go.
Are you on the road?
There we go. No, man, we're at the house. Dude, we're out in the country, man. Can you hear me? Because our Wi-Fi is spottier than crap. You know, so
I got you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I got cows in my backyard, man. Cows. So
I love it.
So y'all are talking about some pretty deep stuff, you know, and I mean, I even feel as a guy who's been in this 6 years, that's like, woo, you know what I mean? Because I'm just really a simple man. But that's but I'm here to offer any value that I can whatsoever. But Bachman, I'm not as deep as you, bro. Dave, man, you guys are like on another level. Yeah.
Well, I think we probably both appreciate that, but I also know you do a good job of telling your story. I mean, obviously we watch your stuff. And, you talk about what's going on. I remember the video about like everything that could go wrong will go wrong with your RV. Just be ready for that.
Oh, dude,
videos like that, just letting people into your life. How do you think, I mean, let's continue this topic a little bit about story, but how do you think that's really helped you, like being able to tell those stories and communicate with people and show them who you are?
Honestly, that was like the number one thing that I took away from the event in Dallas is that having been doing this almost 6 years now, it's like I'm today's June 1st. So I'm like a month and 10 days away from having my 6-year anniversary. But I still needed to be reminded that not everybody has heard my story because I felt that way. And I stopped sharing it for a very long time. And not only that, but I really got off the whole fitness bandwagon. I gained 50 pounds. I'm like, you know what? They're telling me, and I'm just going to lay it out all on the line and tell people I gained 50 pounds since losing 100. I haven't been steady with my Beachbody workouts. Man, I still drink my shake, but I'm getting that every month on HD because, baby, that's Success Club, But I eat like crap. But as of yesterday, I've lost 5 pounds. And, I'm excited about the business again, and I really have to thank, the event to make that happen, even for an old timer like me. But I think sharing your story is crucial, and I think if we're doing a good job of adding people to our audience, then that should never stop. You should never assume that everyone has heard it. And I guess a lot of the magic that happens in my business is that, dude, I suck with hooks. I can hook all day long, but I really stink with the jabs and jabs about life, jabs about this. I mean, I could hook every day, multiple times a day, because I love this business and I love what it's done for us. But I really do think the magic for me is talking to people in the messenger and sharing my story with them. And really, guys, it's all about luck for me because I just work a little bit harder and tell my story to a whole lot more people. And, you build up some practice and you know how to say certain things in a way that can just, kind of rolls off your tongue. It tickles their ears a little bit and you apply it to them. They relate to it. And I'm a numbers guy. And that's where my luck comes into this business because I tell my story to every freaking person that I can in the messenger. And just like I told you guys on Instagram, or I'm sorry, that I build my business with Instagram. So, and it's great because I live in a very, very, very small town of, now we have like 1,000 people, but whenever we first started this business 6 years ago, there was like 614 people in this town that I live in. It's out in the country, it's about an hour and a half from Dallas. And, so there's not very many people in this town. I mean, and plus I'm just not the type of guy who's going to, I remember this one time whenever Jay Jorgensen, I don't know if you remember this, Dave, or Brian, if it was before the time, but Jay Jorgensen and Diebold, I think it was, they went like door to door and we're talking to people about this business. I'm like, man, that takes some balls because I just can't do that, but I mean, that's what they did. And they were going door to door wearing their P90X gear and man, it worked for them. But, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. So I take advantage of social media and build that way. But as far as sharing your story, that's still something that I'm working on even after 6 years. It's I'm a former broke and 100-pound overweight cop. And, this business has changed my life. And, I think a lot of the times I kind of sink back because I'm just going to tell you guys, I struggle with confidence. I struggle big time with confidence. Dave, you're talking about anxiety. I've never been diagnosed with that, but I struggle with that too. I struggle with comparing myself to people like Dave, to people like Bryan, to people like, Trey, and, other people that have been in this business. I compare myself to them. I struggle with that. But despite all those things that I struggle with, I still pick up my crap and I still get stuff done. And I still share my story. I still have a story that needs to be heard. And dadgummit, I'm not done building this business. I'm not ready to sit back and I don't have the kind of following. I'm not good looking. You know what I mean? I don't have that going for me. I can't post a freaking hook like some of these people can. And dadgummit, they're pretty. And, they post a hook and they sell a challenge pack. I can't do that. I've never done that. So most of my magic comes from just, spitting out on social media what my life is all about. But the magic is done behind the scenes in the messenger. I share my conversations all the time with my team. It's pretty basic stuff. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just a sheer numbers thing. And, that's why I'm lucky, is because I'm really stubborn, I guess, because it's, I'm just stubborn about not giving up, and I'm stubborn about not being a failure in this business. And I don't know if you guys heard that part of my story or not, but I've had some businesses before where I've lost thousands and thousands of dollars for my family, and I'm not going to let that happen again. So I don't know. I could ramble all day long.
Well, let's stay here. So I guess you kind of two things. The first one is thanks on behalf of everybody for saying that you struggle with confidence, because that is a huge thing, and it's huge for so many of us. And it's just something that you don't get that on the national call, right? Nobody gets on the fucking national call and says, well, I really struggle with confidence, right? Because if you told corporate that's what you were going to say, they'd freak the fuck out and be like, you can't tell people that. Right? That might make you a human instead of a robot, And so I appreciate you just telling people that. I think that's what's true, because we all do. Like, I struggle with confidence too. It's maybe on a different level. If you don't think I wasn't fucking scared to get up on stage in front of you guys and tell a story, you're dead wrong. Dead wrong. Like that was not easy to do. It scared the shit out of me. And that's how I know it was the right thing. That's why I read you guys the quote from The War of Art. The resistance is real, and the more you feel of it, that's the direction you got to learn to go in. That's a hard thing. So first that. Second, let's get tactics. Let's get tactical a little bit. So you talked a bit about messenger and sharing the messages. I know not every conversation kind of goes in the same direction, but talk to me about like the tactical stuff. So I follow you on Instagram, or kind of how that happens, and then what you do next, and where you're trying to get things to go. You can't always get there, but where are you trying to go?
All right, awesome. Well, I want to find some common ground with these people. Most of the people that I go after and I recruit, they're in law enforcement, they're firefighters, they're paramedics, and there's a huge, man, I don't know if you've ever been on Instagram where, I don't know, maybe it's because that's who I am and that's who I look for, but it's like I'm flooded with bunches and bunches of cop pages, personal cop pages. And these people have a huge following because, believe it or not, there's a lot of cop supporters out there, more so than what I thought, So people are just loving these cops and the crap that they post. And but what I basically put up there is little bits and pieces of my story as far as who I go after. Man, it's everything that what I'm about. It's being a police officer, because I can relate to those people. Even though it's been 3 years since I've retired from the force, I can still, I have plenty of great cop stories that I like to tell, and how I can kind of create some credibility on my side, because they're like, who is this guy? He's always posting about fitness and business and, being your own boss and goals and yada, yada, yada. But so I want to have some connective tissue, as you guys talked about at the event. And so what I do is once Instagram finds them, or I'm intentional about finding these people, either or, it happens either way, then their name goes down on the list. I see what they're all about first. If I find them, obviously I'm interested. I'm going to follow them. I like some of the pictures. Kind of, I play hard to get. Maybe I don't follow them right away, but it's like, hey, I noticed you, and I'm going to like some of your stuff. I'm going to double tap. So you notice me. So they go to my page. They see what I'm all about. I'm like, hey, all right, this guy is dude, everybody reads your bio. That's the first thing that I read whenever I open up somebody's page. They do, all right, well, cop, fitness, and,
Right.
Okay, YouTube channel, whatever. And they kind of basically scroll your pictures to see what you're about. So if your content sucks, they're not going to follow you. So your content has to be legit. It can't be salesy. So they like some of my stuff, and then, their name goes down on the list. And then I might follow them, they follow me, or they follow me, and I follow them. And since their name is down on the list, then I'm very intentional about going to their page each and every day, because it's the same with Instagram, guys. I don't want to, I have that kill the newsfeed thing on my computer. I don't want to scroll Instagram, because that's just wasteful. But their name is down on my list, and I'm intentional about going to their page each and every day, and I will double tap and I will comment on their stuff. And I don't care what it's about. I'm just going to say something, and I'm building a relationship with these people. And so, that's primarily how I find all my people now. I said like 90-something% on stage. Was that last weekend or 2 weekends ago?
Yeah.
Dude, it might be like almost 100%. Julie does Facebook. Man, I'm Instagram, but I carry it to Facebook. So, after probably a week of me double tapping and liking their stuff, their name is on my list. And you can go faster than this. I don't. I'm like a week. Then I go to their Facebook, and generally people have the same profile picture on their Instagram that they do on their Facebook. Sometimes people on their Instagram, you may have to look on their page and scroll down a little bit, but sometimes they screenshot their Facebook name and post a picture of their Facebook status, as an Instagram picture. So it gives you their name right away. Sometimes people have their name and where they're from. So I can punch in John Davis, Sacramento, California. Boom. And there John is. So after a week of getting to know them, and basically pre-qualifying them, because I just don't want any turd on my team, then I will go to Facebook and I will find these people, and I'm just going to send them a request right away. And dude, 9 times out of 10, they accept me right away. And I'm like, man. And then that lets me know that I did a good job of letting them know who I was through Instagram, which is just pretty cool. I used to send DMs, direct messages, but my dog's on my table, but I don't really anymore. If I can't find them on Facebook, then I will send them a direct message. I always send a picture, not just a message, because I just never have good luck with sending just messages through the DM. It's like I will screenshot one of their pictures, and then I'll get to know them that way. I'll find something that we can talk about. And then, after I find them on Facebook, after 2 to 3 days, I'm going to go back to them on Facebook, and I'm going to be like, hey, John, dude, thank you for accepting my friend's request. I didn't know if you would recognize me from Instagram or not. Boom, that is it. And then I kind of sit back, and I give it a little bit of time, and he's going to respond like, oh, yeah, dude, I know who you are. Awesome. And then I find something to talk about. I just don't go right in for the invite, and kind of attack them or pounce on them like that. Generally, if I have – what I do is we use sneak peek groups, and I know a lot of the chicks do those. Some of the guys do those, but we have a lot of good luck with these things. A lot of people kill it with the opportunity calls. I've done those, and I'm not afraid to do them. But with the sneak peeks, they're like 3 days long. That gives me something to invite to for the business. Sometimes we don't do sneak peeks, and that's cool because this is what you don't want to be. And I really hope that none of you guys on here are these people, but it's like you kind of wait for your upline to do a sneak peek, and that's just BS. Do your own sneak peek. But anyways, we do a sneak peek. We have really, really good luck with those. We don't do it just for us. Man, I invite the entire downline. My entire downline is not very big. We have like 1,500 and some odd people. It's not that big. Out of those 1,500, I think 900 are in our team page, because other people in the downline, people of ours, people of other, they have their own team pages and they do their own thing. So, we do these sneak peek groups, and sometimes they have 200 to 300 people in them. And I'm like, awesome, man, that's a whole lot of activity. It's never boring in there because no one wants to post something in a group and it'd be like, crickets, because that just sucks. So once we do these sneak peek groups, then, we get them on board. So anyways, I guess what I was trying to say is that after I find them on Facebook, after I start a little bit of conversation with them, I build more rapport, and then I just get to know them. Bryan, the forming thing that you did in the group, I don't know, a month ago, that was genius. That's what I do. And I've heard the word form used before, and I guess Danny Johnson came up with that. I'm not really for sure where that came from, but that's what I do. And then I basically go into the GoPro, the 4-step series of, hey, this is what I do, and I don't know if you could use this in your life, and but this is what I do. Do you know someone who's interested in doing that, or have you ever considered doing that with me? So I kind of do a little direct and an indirect approach in there as far as an invitation goes. And then once they bite on my line, then I'm like, then I go into the 4-step. I'm like, all right, awesome. So how much would you need to make each month to make this whole thing work for you? And then I usually would tell them a brief story. I'm on a call, baby. My daughter's like, what's going on? What are you doing?
Dad life.
Quit being nosy.
It's dad life.
Quit being nosy. Yeah. So I go into the 4-step. Well, how much do you need this to make this whole thing work for you? And then I say, well, whenever I first my interest, but I only wanted to make $300 a month. That's what I needed to get my head above water, to get, out of the red when it comes to our checkbooks and finances and whatnot. So that gives them an idea of, what they could shoot for. But I always say this at the end. I'm like, you can have whatever financial goal you want. I mean, you can make more than the $300. Clearly I'm making more than $300, but your goals can be whatever they want, and I'll support whatever goal you have. So usually they come in and say, they'll give me a goal. I don't know. Let's just say $200 a month. I'm like, awesome. We can do that. I remember whenever I made $200, that was awesome. I kind of relate it back to them and kind of give more, credibility and give them a little bit of faith in this whole thing. And then I go into the next step, which is, asking them how much, how much time? Yeah. How much time they can invest, how many hours. I'm like, awesome. So you want to make $200? How many days or how many hours are you willing to put in a day or put into a week to help you meet that $200 a month goal? And then they'll tell me that answer. And, it's really funny. And it even says this in GoPro, but he's like, it's always funny whenever you get the ones who are like, I want to make $10,000. But whenever you ask them about the time commitment, they're like, well, I think I can work like a couple hours a week. That ain't gonna work for you, but I rarely do I get those. But it also tells you in the book, don't go in with the approach of, hey, how would you like to make $10,000? Man, just ask them. I mean, I rarely do I tell people how much I make in this, because it's just hard for people to believe, that we make a 6-figure income by talking to people on social media. It just blows their mind. Like, whatever, what are you smoking? But so once I have their time commitment, their income goal, then I go one step further into the time commitment as far as, awesome, you want to make $200. You tell me you can work 2 hours a day. That's beautiful. How long are you willing to work 2 hours a day to make $200? How many months are you willing to work? So that lets them know, honestly, even more that there's going to be even more commitment, and you're getting another, you're getting a little bit more out of them. So they're like, well, I'm willing to give it 3 months. I'm like, cool. So you're willing to give it 3 months, working 2 hours a day to make $200 a month. Man, I know we can work that out. That will work. Honestly, if you do 2 hours a day of doing what I tell you to do, you're going to make more than $200. So, and then the step 4 says, if I could show you a way with our business to make that happen, are you ready to begin? And it's either a yes or no. And if you get a no, then you kind of go into where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Where are you? Because wherever they're at, like a 7, you're like, well, awesome. You're at a 7. 10 is ready to get going. How can we make that up? The 7 to 10, how can we make that up? What are your concerns? Is it a money thing? I totally understand. So whatever excuse you get, then you just do the whole feel, felt, found thing where I'm like, hey, I totally know how you feel because I have been there. I used to live paycheck to paycheck. Beyond that, I used to have to work extra. My wife cleaned a funeral home to make extra money. Well, that's God's honest truth. Cleaning around dead people. My kids are up there. It wasn't good. And so I kind of, put a little bit of story on there with them. I relate to them. I'm like, but, and then I just go into like, but what I found is that if I didn't change something about my behaviors, if I didn't change my activity, then I would be here another year from now. I would be here 5 years from now. So it's like you give them a little bit of hope. You give them a little bit of clarity. And that's basically and I just do that over and over and over again. Man, it sounds boring, but it works.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. It does sound boring. But what I hope you guys hear here is a couple things. The first thing is Dennis is system dependent. Okay. It's not a system that his upline, because Chris Reed is his upline. It's not a system necessarily Chris Reed created for him or that anybody, handed to him at an event like the one we went to. He read a book and said, I'm going to try that shit and see how it works. And then he tried it and was like, oh, well, there's some shit that works. What am I going to do? Am I going to go now and be like, well, you know what I really need to do? Create an email autoresponder or run some ads or whatever the fuck. He's like, no, I found some shit that works. What do? I just dedicate myself to that every day. It's being system dependent. The idea behind this event and the playbook is to show you a bunch of different systems. We're going to have another Zoom call like this where we have the challenge group guys. That's a totally different system than what Dennis is doing. But you will find the exact same things. This is what everybody who is successful in this business does. They find a system and then they just keep doing that shit. If it works. Doesn't work, now you got to change. But they keep doing that shit. The other thing about Dennis's system that you need to hear, if you don't hear anything else, I hope you hear this, a list. Dennis is working from a list. You have to have a list of people that you're talking to. Don't rely on yourself to remember these things. I don't care how you do it. When I coach people and I mentor people in this business, I don't give a shit what kind of a calendar you use, but you've got to use a calendar. I don't care how you keep your list, but man, you got to keep the list. Like those two things, if you can't do those two things, the system probably doesn't matter. You got to be on time, where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and you've got to have a way to keep track of the people that you're talking to. Dennis, you want to jump in as a follow-up, and then we're going to go to Bryan.
Yeah. Guys, I don't throw down a lot of points each month. I will say that my first year, let's say my first full year, because I signed up in quick backstory. I signed up July of 2010. I didn't take my coach's advice. I was the guy that canceled his shakes. I went inactive for like 4 months. I tried to quit. Actually, we faxed in my stuff twice, tried to quit, didn't go through, felt that I needed to stay. That fax didn't go through for a reason. So obviously I need to treat this thing like it should be treated. Took my coach's advice because back then I thought, P90X was gay, honestly. And that's the terminology I used. And if that offends somebody, oh well, because that's just what I thought, because I was the big gym guy, and it was the infomercials would flash in the gym, and I'd laugh at them, me and my buddies, and look at this stuff that isn't real. So I didn't do P90X for a while. Finally, I'm like, fine, I'm gonna embrace this whole freaking journey. I'm gonna listen to my coach. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about, and I'm gonna do this. So P90X, Shakeology. I went Emerald because I signed my wife up and I found my first discount coach. Went my first event. Man, I was on fire. I got super excited. But I left the event thinking that I was going to get business cards and get my vehicle wrapped and all that other crap. So still, I was like, man, I'm trying to do things the wrong way here. And I was even going to go hand out flyers in the Walmart parking lot. What kind of crap is that, So anyways, I didn't do any of that stuff. I saved my money. Actually, I do think I got business cards, but I don't think I handed any of them out. I started talking to people, started sharing my journey. Actually, was doing the P90X workouts, even though I was a fatty, and even though I went to the gym, I was still a really, really fat guy, and I was having a hard time still sharing my journey. Facebook really wasn't big for me back then because I had like 100 and some odd friends. I posted like every 2 months, and now you guys know, just like Chris Reed talked about on stage, do the 3 to 5 posts a day. I'm to the point now, guys, where I don't post 3 to 5 posts a day. I mean, I might post once or twice a day, twice every couple of days. And that works out for me. For you guys, you need to do 3 to 5, just like what was suggested. But I don't throw a lot of points down. I average Success Club 10 now, and it's, but in the beginning, my first year in 2011, I did 5 points. And man, sometimes I was like, working a freaking deal. Okay, I'm going to give you this. It's like the last day of the month. I'm going to give you a refresher. I'm going to give you this if you sign up for the challenge pack. Come on, dude. It was one of those things, where I was like, please God, where my next 2 points are going to come from. But I made that crap happen. And then I finally realized that my business would grow so much more if I made Success Club 10. So that's what I started doing. Made Elite 3 years in a row. And more times than not, I still make Success Club 10. Sometimes I may finish with like 8, and I'm good with that. So I guess that's it, buddy. I'm a real simple man. I make Success Club. I preach it to my team. I don't understand the leadership ladder still. Like I said, I'm a very simple man. I make Success Club. I find people. I work with people. And if a simple man can build this business like I have, then you can build it. So.
You're muted.
There you go.
Dave is muted to me.
Yeah, he's muted to me too. Can I unmute him? No.
He has to unmute him. And he also stopped my video.
I see him talking. I think he's trying to figure out what
I was muted myself. Talk about being a simple motherfucker. Like, figure your shit out. Okay, hold on. Now I got Bryan Bachman.
You just attacked my server. Like,
wow, that was weird, dude.
Canceled my video. Shut me down.
All right. So starting over, I know we're talking about tactics, really, like getting into the tactics, and I know you had something you wanted to jump in with, so I'll just let you rip.
JK, turn that down, please. Too loud. Thank you. So let's talk about recruiting and getting coaches started right, because, man, Dennis, it's like, what I love about watching these guys who have been doing this 6, 7, 8 years is that they're saying things that they used to do when they got started, and I just go, I did that too, and I'm still, and that was so reassuring, man. I sat in the men's camp last year, and I was listening to them talk about all the basic stuff, the ground level stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing that now. I already do that, right? Because I was at that ground level thing, and it was just so reassuring to me. I was like, that's it. I know I'm on the right track. Just keep going. So that was really cool. So the fact that you did that, everyone get it. Can you guys still see me? I think I'm breaking up or something.
It just broke up for a sec. You're back.
Okay, you guys should see my GoPro book. Like, it's so tattered. I used to take that GoPro and open it up to chapter 4, and I used to set it down in front of my computer, and I would literally type word for word what it says, right? Like word for word what it says. And then chapter 10 was the lifeblood of my team for the first 18 months, which was get everybody to the events. Just get them there. Whatever you have to say, just get them there. But let's go into the recruiting and into how I get my coaches started right, because mine is very, very cool. It's unique. I pretty much spit it at everybody who came up to me and asked about it at the event. But that is, recruiting is all about what you water will grow. And maybe you probably heard that before, but it's something that people hear, but you just don't do. You just don't do. And because if I go to your page right now, I'm going to see you with your backwards cap on and your garage P90X after workout photo. Great, dude. That's cool. You're doing it. But what are you going to attract then? here's my shake photo. Here's my workout photo. Here's me on my jog. Right? Like, here's me with my family. What are you going to attract? You're going to attract people who want to work out and hang out with their family. Do people who want to work out want to make $1 million businesses? Not as much as they want to work out, because that's what you're putting out. So that's what you're going to attract. So as soon as I started shifting what I was putting out, because man, I recruited a lot of discount coaches because I was all about that body beast life, right? And I was bringing on a lot of discount coaches, but why isn't anybody working? Because they're not coming to you to work this business. They're coming to you to get healthy. That's cool. Not how you build $1 million business. And this is, well, I'll leave it to the challenge group guys because they've gotten really good at converting those challengers into working coaches. I skip that middleman. And I have people that I work with who are 300 pounds. And they just want to get healthy, and they're a very specific category for me. And I talked about that on stage, right? But most people, like, we get right into this and I go, dude, we are going to build something really, really cool here. By the way, you're going to have some sick abs by the time we're done with this. Like, that's the back note. This is what I lead with. Because what do you tell people? I'm a health and fitness coach. I help people get healthy and fit, and we make a business out of it. Or I run a business making a bunch of money, and it's based on health and fitness. Which one takes the forefront in your business? Because that's what you're going to attract people. And I know people are like, I don't make any money. You know, I didn't either. But I talked about how excited I was. I talked about the success of other people in my uplines team a lot. And as soon as I started making money, I started saying things like, boom, electric bill, done. I like those sorts of things. And it really did start to think, and oh, you paid off his electric bill. Good for you. But this month I paid off my car payment and my electric bill. And the next month, and you just get that snowball rolling. And Steve Martin, who's funny because Steve Martin's kind of a role model of mine. You guys, very inspirational. He says he had one goal, and that was be so good they can't ignore you. And that was my goal, to actually get on stage at the men's training camp. As I said, I'm going to be so good that they can't ignore me. Because if you remember me speaking on stage at Summit, I didn't speak on stage at Summit, did I? Tisha Bachman flashed across that screen. Even though most months I outperform Tisha, but it all goes on her account. So nobody knew who I was, but I was killing this business. And Tisha was getting showcased and getting to speak and all this great stuff. And recognition is one of my love languages, baby. So I was just kind of like, all right, you know, and I just said, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to be so good they can't ignore me anymore. And that's really how I got to where I've gotten, because my business wasn't nearly as successful as Tisha's, but that's what I did. And I started focusing on things that were going to grow my business. And I was putting out into the universe, I run a business that will give you sick abs. And that's what I started. And I started to bring people on. When I bring people on, this is something that I have created, but I've created it by pulling from a lot of different things. And it's interesting because it's 4 steps as well, right? And when I sit down with new coaches, there are 4 things we go over. And normally it's just the why, right? People say, like, we got to discover your why, so that way you don't quit on me 30 days from now, right? And they'll be like, why do you want to do this? Well, dude, I'd love to, come home and spend time with the kids. Great. That's kind of not deep enough, but we'll come back to that. Do you know what Emerald and Success Club are? Right? I did that for a long time. Right? Like, this is uncomfortable, but we'll come back to that. You never do. And then they quit because you never got deep enough to connect to something. I found a really great way to connect with that right from the get-go. And that is on my 30-minute getting started right call that I do with my that complete my setup. I call it. I think I'm frozen again.
Yeah.
You got me back? There we go.
Gotcha. 30-minute call.
On my 30-minute call that I have after people set it up through Acuity, and that I spend about 25 minutes talking about these 4 steps and the last 5 talking about Emerald and Success Club, because Emerald and Success Club is the how. The how isn't the answer. The why is the answer. Okay? I've preached that so much. I hope you understand that by now, right? And that is, number 1 is, what do you want out of this? What do you want out of this? And I make them come up with it, because they'll be, I help them. And I'll say, do you want $1 million? Yeah, do $1 million. That sounds great. Think about like $100,000. That'd be great. What about like $500 a month? Because $500 a month for the next 12 months, $6,000. That's one hell of a trip to Bora Bora. And they go, oh man, I've always wanted to go to Bora Bora. Now we have something. Now we have something that's real for them, because everyone wants $1 million, but most people can't even fathom it. So I know I got to find something that really can hold on to them. And an example that I have with the brand new coach that I started with is that he wanted to make $3,000 to take his wife to the coast of Oregon and treat her to a weekend just to spoil her because she worked and she was the primary breadwinner and he was the stay-at-home dad. How long did I have to talk with him to get that out of him? Like a while, man. Like, and we dug and I found out why. What the heck do you even want out of this? And then why do you want this? That's number 2. Why is $500 a month important to you? What does that mean to you? Right? And we got it out of him, right? Because I literally feel like my wife carries this entire family and she deserves to be happy. Number 3, and this is Vita Lafata all the way, right? And that was, what are you willing to sacrifice to get there? What are you willing to sacrifice to get there, gentlemen? Because Game of Thrones is killing it this season. It comes on every Sunday night at 9 p.m. What's significant about Sunday night at 9 p.m.? That's freaking prime time for Facebook. Are you willing to sacrifice Game of Thrones to build $1 million business or $500 a month or whatever it is you're going for? Because you need to. Otherwise, it's not strong enough. Are you willing to stay up till 2 in the morning when you have to wake up at 6 to go to work the next day? Because that's what I did. Because you have to connect with something that's strong enough. Number 3, what do you want to sacrifice? You're going to sit down on your couch and your wife's going to come sit next to you and she's going to say, can you please just close the computer and watch this movie with me? You're always on the computer. I get it. Just watch this movie with me. You have to tell her no. Which means that what you want and why you want it better be pretty damn strong. Which brings us to point number 4. And that is something I got from David Ingram. And that is bring everyone on board. My spouse doesn't support my business goes away when we do this. Bring everyone on board. You sit your wife and your kids at the table. And this is something that I did because David Ingram taught it to me. And that was I sat them at the table and I said, for the next 18 months, I'm going to live on this computer. I need to do this because if I can build this thing, I will never have to go to work again. And I can spend every single day with you and sacrificing your wife for your why. I so believe in that. There's coaches in this network who poo-poo and laugh at that. And I think they're setting coaches up for failure because I think it's absolutely necessary to sacrifice your why for your why. And I told my kids who were 4 years old to get away from me and let me work. You can talk to me, but I got to do this and I'll never have to go to work again. And if you can support me in this, in 18 months, I'll take you to Disney World and we can celebrate as a family that I'll never have to go to work again. I brought them on board. So it started becoming, Daddy's always on the computer, or my wife always like, you're always on your phone at dinner, to how many coaches have you signed up? And my daughter, 4 years old, would say, Mommy needs to sign up more coaches so Daddy doesn't have to go to work. And the whole family came on board. And you know what happened after 18 months? Not only did I take my kids to freaking Disney World, I moved them to Orlando so we can go all the damn time. Totally worth it. Take these 4 steps and you dig into people's lives. And then you say, great. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make $500 a month. Let me explain to you how the customer lead program and the paid lead program work. So you need to be Emerald and make Success Club 10 every single month. And if you do that, we're going to make $500 more. On that 3rd month is when you start making a little bit more than $500. And we're going to do that over and over. And it's going to compound really fast. And we're going to make that $3,000. And you're going to take your wife to the coast of Oregon. And I told this guy, I said, take this reason. And for that, because I was going to be surprised for his wife, I said, write on a Post-it note, Mom deserves this, and put it behind your computer. Put it on your fridge and get some lipstick and go write it on your bathroom mirror. Mom deserves this. And tell your wife, oh, just make up an excuse. Like, oh, I have to write that because of this reason. And you stare at that. Because when I message you, oh, I think I froze up again. When I message you a week from now on your for this follow-up and you're not working, apparently Mom doesn't deserve this. And that's okay. Because if she doesn't deserve this and it's not something that's motivating you enough, we can just start over. What do you want? And we just literally take it back to step 1 and we find another thing. Maybe this is really what you want. Let's go again. And we do this over and over again until we find something that's really concrete and people start to do this. And you're going to get to know these people. You'll build a relationship with people. You become friends with these people and they will stick with you for the long haul on this thing. That's how I get my coaches started right.
Yeah, I love that. And we're going to have another one of these. We might start doing this like once a week because I really wanted to get in with you two guys in particular. And I want Plaskett on that is building with your spouse and this idea of bringing your family into that. I did the same thing. I mean, I've talked about this a little bit, at the training camp live event. I was like, when this is what I was going to do. When I got to that point, this is really how it was going to be and what I was going to do. I did the same thing. I went to them and I said, look, I'm going to be in this box working my face off for the next 18 months, maybe 2 years. I don't know. I'm taking a shot here. It's like an at bat. And I don't know how this at bat's going to go, but I'm going to give it everything I've got, and I need your support. And that meant when my kids were 5 and 8, that I was not really around for like, a year and a half, 2 years of their lives. What I've discovered is that what they really need is me now. They need me to be super present in their life when they're 15 and 13. Not necessarily 5 and 8. Now that might rub some people the wrong way, and I'm sorry for the background helicopter noise. And I'm just going to close my door. Whoa, hey, oh, that's a slam. That sometimes I think I tell that story and I kind of go, wow, how could you miss that time in your kids' lives? And it goes back to what Bryan was talking about. It's like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice? I was willing to sacrifice a couple of years, knowing that what does my future look like if I keep doing what I'm doing? Like, okay, I could give up a couple of years here when they're little and they really need their mama more anyway. I mean, let's be honest about it. And then gain that time back, or I could keep practicing law and never really get to know them. I mean, that was the prospect I was faced with. I was at the office all the fucking time. Like there wasn't a thing of me getting to know them. I wasn't afforded that, And so I was like, okay, we're going to give this up and we're going to make, these are the sacrifices that we're going to make for the next period of time, and I've never seen a business like this one where you can put in a lot of work in the beginning and then it pays off. The other thing that I think Dennis was talking about earlier that I think is an important point, I'm all about that tortoise game, man. Like 2010 is probably the time when we recruited the most coaches and we're the most active and we're really going for top 10. It was like right there in front of us. Why not, bust a move? I'd lost my job. I was desperate. Bryan talks a little bit about that earlier about I got to make $1,100, and that urgency set in for me. And that was the year we went top 10. Other than that, 2 people a month. Like if we get 2 people a month, I'm pretty stoked. That's a good number for me. I can work with them. I can dive in. I can do what Bryan's talking about, and we can try to get to these 4 areas. I think that's brilliant. Starting coaches, what do you do? Well, listen, I need to know what is important to you. I'll just tell you another Craig Holiday story. When I was working with Craig and he was mentoring me really closely, one day we were on the phone and he said, here's what you need to understand is that you believe in everybody. Everybody who comes through deserves your belief. If they're going to follow you into this business, they absolutely 100% deserve your belief in them that they can do this shit. I was like, okay. And he said, but here's the thing. You believe in everybody, but you can only trust a few. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I've seen the numbers and yeah, there's a few people I trust. And I was like, so great, but how do I know who to trust? How am I supposed to figure out who to trust and who is untrustworthy? And he said, you know what? It's actually really pretty simple. He said, you're probably looking at most people, they follow your instructions. That's a big one. It's like the bigger than that though is you can trust the people who tell you how they really want to live their lives. Those are the people you can trust. If somebody's working and they won't tell you why, what their why is, what their reason is, they won't open up to you, they don't trust you and you probably can't trust them either. Your job as a sponsor and as a coach is to help them understand that and connect to it in a deep way. And I do all the same sorts of things. I did the exact same thing. I remember when we made that decision that I was trying to get out of that rat race and I was going to come home, we took chapstick and wrote on the bathroom mirror, bring Dave home. That was on our bathroom mirror. And it was there for like 6 or 7 months. And finally, we hired a new cleaning lady or whatever, and she cleaned it off. But by then it was so ingrained in my head, it didn't even fucking matter. It was every day I looked at that thing. And that may sound a little silly. Okay, great. When a millionaire tells you that some shit works, you can think it's silly. I walked around doing that for a really long time, walking around thinking, that's some stupid shit. It's just like somebody telling you to create a list and work from a list, or to, get some urgency in your life, or to rely on a system that you do every single day. That's what successful people do. They do shit like that. They create visions for their lives, and then they go and they attack those things and go get them. And I will tell you that more than anything, the thing that I see with the guys in this group and what's going on is that vision is very murky. It's very, very murky. You don't really know where you want to go. You really don't know what you want out of your life. That's totally normal and understandable because you've been conditioned to think this way for a really, really long time. This is how our schools, and for those of you who are teachers, I'm not attacking anybody, but it's a systemic problem. We have not allowed people to envision themselves better than they are now. And so we're terrified of that. I'll ask people, what do you really want? And much like, I love the way Bryan approached it, which is, okay, do you want $1 million? Well, yeah. Okay, well, how about $500 a month? Like, how much would that change your life? And then they start to go, oh shit, I could connect with that. Monica did the same thing with me. It was just, I wanted a bike. That's what I want. I wanted to buy a new bike. And she's like, okay, if you earn the money with Beachbody, you can buy your bike. And I was like, okay, cool. And I went and I got my shit together and went to work. That was like the first big thing. Then I got the bike and I was like, oh, I can make a career out of this. And if I made a career out of this, shit, I wouldn't have to practice law anymore, and it was like those little hurdles over that stuff. But I really appreciate the time. We're at like an hour and 15, so I don't want to keep going much longer, but I want to have you guys back. And I want to get into this issue of really building this business as a family business and how that works. I know that's sometimes a little bit of a weird discussion around me because Monica and I got divorced, but I hope what you guys are open to recognizing is we're still really good business partners. I'm meeting with her tomorrow for like 2 hours to go through and film some videos and work on some projects that we're working on. Like, that part of our life still really works together. We've always been really good business partners and still are. And I want to hear, some more about that and how you guys make that work and how it fits in your life. Because I think, it's really easy one of the hardest things about this business, I think, is that it's never done. Your work is never really done. There's always one more person to talk to. There's always one more blog post you can write. There's always one more Zoom call you can do or watch. And it's never really done because no one's told you what they've probably told most of you, which is if you do X, we'll pay you Y. And if you don't do X, we'll fucking fire your ass. That's the normal deal that most of us are comfortable with. It doesn't matter whether you were a cop or you're in the military or you were a lawyer or you work at an office building filing papers or you work for the post office or whatever. That's the deal. You do X, we'll pay you Y. If you don't do X, you're fired. That's not how this business works. This business is like, if you do this stuff, you could have that stuff. And it's very fuzzy and it's hard to see. And that is the thing that people struggle with. What happens when you dial into your why and you get really like solid with what you're doing, and then you build some urgency around that, that's when the magic happens. And this business can eat you alive if you let it. It can also give you an incredible life of freedom if you can find the right, I hate the word balance, but it is kind of like finding that balance. So I want to talk with you guys more about that, but I want to let everybody go just because it's been an hour and 15 and everybody needs to get to work. So I guess just kind of closing comments from either one of you guys.
For me, I really do think there's a different way to run our businesses. I don't run my business the same way that Chris, my upline, the guy who brought me into this, runs his. I don't run the same way as Dave, but we still get the same things done. So I really do think as long as you're getting the same result accomplished that aligns with your goals, then it's good. However you get there, get there. I don't do Facebook ads. My attraction probably sucks, but I talk to people, and I invite people still to this day. And, by my 10-year mark, I don't know, going to be doing the same thing because it works. I don't need to do all this extra frou-frou crap and pay a bunch of dollars to do this. I'm just going to talk to people because that's what this business is all about. So don't get caught up in all the new things that are happening. Just go freaking talk to people.
Yeah, I love that advice. I love that advice. And stop, we're not trying to get you to look at what other people are doing and worry about that. I'm trying to get people really solid in what they're doing. Find your 3 things and just go kill it with those 3 things. Don't be distracted by shiny shit. What about you, Bryan?
I would say start with the reason why you'd even want to be here, guys. Like that's so much more important than anything of the one-liners, like sales tactics that I could show you. And that is, if this business doesn't excite you so much that it literally keeps you up at night, you aren't connected with a deep enough reason to be here. And there was days when I was working in a full-time job that I would hear my phone ding at 3 a.m. and I would roll over and start talking to people as long as I got messages back, because I was so pumped for what the possibilities were. So rather than come to the men's event and hopefully they pump me up enough to make it to Summit and then I could really make that hurdle to Super Saturday to stay motivated, try motivating yourself. And before you figure out how to do this business, look at yourself in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Why the fuck should I even bother? Why the fuck should you even bother? Why have you stayed on this call for an hour and 20 minutes? Why is it important to you? And if you can connect with that reason, because daddy used to beat me and my kids told me they hated me last summer because I was never around and I'm about to change that shit. Like, that's a reason. Not, I want to come home to my kids. It's not deep enough. Vito Lafata calls it a surface why, and you won't be here a year from now. And if you do, you'll still be an Emerald coach. So connect with a real reason to be here. And I'm telling you, man, it's the moment you decide this shit is happening. My coach didn't help me. They said this is possible. And I was, and Google's a thing. And I started looking up how to do this job. Tell me, like top 5 tips, Ray Higdon, I just started learning and absorbing crap from everywhere, because how isn't the answer. You will find a way to fix your car if it means you're going to die in the Arizona desert if you don't. That's the most important thing, is why should I even bother? Start with that.
Absolutely. Right on. And you know what? I think we just got to keep doing these, man. These are awesome. I hope you guys agree. I really appreciate, both Dennis and Bryan being here, especially Dennis on like super short notice. Thanks so much. I just appreciate the time. I appreciate the effort that you've put into this. I said this on stage and I'll just say it again. The reason that people are involved with this event is because they're people that I know are all rowing in the same direction. That's the thing. Like, I just know, I know these guys, they're my friends and I trust them, and I trust them to teach you guys. And there are people who aren't on stage, and most of the reason is I just don't know who they are. I really don't know their heart. I don't know what they're all about. I don't know that they want to get in the boat and row and they want to go where we're going, and what we're really about is creating a movement here. And I so appreciate both of your involvement, and thank you for your time today. And with that, I'm going to wrap. And then let's do this again, man. Right? Like, I love this. I want to hear more about, and we'll reel in Plaskett for this as well, and maybe Atkins, about like really how you make it work, working with your spouse, because it's challenging, but if you can nail it, man, it's like there's the formula's there for massive success if you guys can kind of attack this thing from 2 different angles, like a pincer movement. That's probably a good term to use to close it. All right, so that's it. Thanks so much again. Appreciate it, Dennis, Bryan. Thanks, fellas. Everybody that showed up and everybody watching the recording. Have a fantastic day. Get your ass to work. It's early in the month. Time to make Success Club.